As I was settling into my new office at Wilson & Associates corporate headquarters, an email from Sarah arrived. "Hey sis, guess what? I told Dad about the regional manager opening here, and he's thrilled. Finally, a chance to show you how real business professionals operate. Maybe you'll learn something if you're lucky. After all, someone has to carry on the family legacy, and we both know that won't be you." I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the downtown Chicago skyline from my 35th floor suite. The sunlight reflected off the neighboring buildings as I thought about my sister's latest attempt to belittle me. I'm Emma Chen, 35 years old, and the youngest director of operations in Wilson & Associates history. Not that my family knew about that. To them, I was still the disappointment, the one who squandered a Stanford MBA by taking mid-level jobs instead of joining Dad's precious manufacturing company. Sarah, my older sister by 2 years, took the more traditional route. She joined Dad's business straight out of college, climbing the ranks purely through nepotism, while I chose a different path. In their eyes, she was the successful one, the one who knew real business. What they didn't realize was that each of those so-called insignificant corporate roles was part of a well-thought-out plan to hone my expertise in operations, efficiency, and organizational change. While they dismissed my career, I was quietly becoming one of the most respected executives in the field. When Wilson & Associates headhunted me to oversee their entire Midwest operation, I didn't bother telling my family. What was the point? They'd never acknowledged my accomplishments before. But now, reading Sarah's smug email, things were getting interesting. It seemed my father, Richard Chen, CEO of Chen Manufacturing, was planning to interview for a role that would report directly to me. My phone buzzed. "Speak of the devil." "Emma," my father's stern voice came through. "Your sister says you're working some low-level job at Wilson & Associates." I swiveled my chair to face the window, keeping my tone even. "Hello to you too, Dad. Yes, I work at Wilson & Associates." "Well, I suppose that's better than your last job. Listen, I've decided to make a change. Chen Manufacturing is running smoothly enough that I can step back and let your sister take more control. I'm interviewing for the regional manager position at Wilson." I fought the urge to smile. "Oh, what prompted this?" "It's time I show you how real business is done. You've been dabbling in corporate roles long enough. Maybe watching me in action will finally teach you something." The condescension in his voice wasn't new. I'd been hearing it ever since I made it clear I wasn't joining the family business. "Interesting, Dad. When's your interview?" "Monday morning." Sarah set it up through her contact in HR. "It's just a formality, really. With my experience, they'd be foolish not to hire me." I glanced at the org chart on my desk. The regional manager role reported directly to me. "Well, good luck with that. I'm sure it'll be an eye-opening experience." After hanging up, I sat quietly for a moment. I could stop this now. A quick call to HR and the interview would be canceled. But something made me pause. For 15 years, I'd listened to their dismissive comments about my career while they praised Sarah's mediocre progress. Maybe it was time to teach them a lesson in humility. My intercom buzzed. "Miss Chen, your 10 a.m. is here. The staff meeting to review Monday's interviews." "Thanks, Jenny. I'll be right there." I grabbed my files, including the stack of resumes for the regional manager position. My father's was on top, forwarded by HR with a note. "Special interest candidate, referred by Sarah Chen, marketing." The same Sarah who had spent years claiming I didn't understand real business. The same Sarah who thought she was setting me up for another humiliation. Entering the conference room, I saw my management team waiting. They looked at me with respect. These professionals who had quickly come to value my leadership despite my youth. "Good morning, everyone," I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. "Let's talk about Monday's interview. We have several strong candidates for the regional manager position, but one in particular stands out," my HR director said. I placed my father's resume on the table, watching my team examine it. On paper, he looked impressive, minus 30 years running his own company. But I knew the reality: outdated practices, resistance to change, and an ego that far outstripped his true abilities. "His interview is scheduled for Monday at 9:00 a.m., I said. "I'll be handling it personally." My HR director raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? Given the family connection?" "I think it's crucial that I conduct the interview," I replied. Sometimes the most important lessons come from unexpected sources. As the meeting continued, I thought about Monday. My father would walk in, expecting to impress a middle manager with his experience. Instead, he would be face to face with the daughter he had always underestimated. Sarah's words echoed in my head. Someone has to carry on the family legacy. Well, dear sister, maybe it's time to show you both what that legacy could have been if you had taken the time to notice what was right in front of you. My phone buzzed with another text from Sarah. Dad's so excited about Monday. Try not to embarrass yourself when he gets the job. You might actually learn something from him. I grinned as I put my phone down, feeling a thrill at what was about to unfold. Monday promised to be full of surprises. The day broke crisp and clear, the sunlight glinting off the downtown Chicago skyline as I stood by my office window. In 1 hour, my father would arrive for his interview, blissfully unaware that the person he was about to face as his interviewer was the very daughter he'd so often underestimated. My phone buzzed again. Sarah's message popped up. Dad's on his way to the interview now. He's wearing his best power suit. Try not to get too envious when you see how a real executive operates. I silenced my phone without responding, allowing her smugness to linger just a little longer. The intercom buzzed. Miss Chen, your father has arrived and is waiting in the main conference room. Thanks, Jenny. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I glanced at my reflection in the window. My charcoal gray suit was crisp, my face a picture of composure. This moment had been years in the making. It needed to go flawlessly. As I walked to the conference room, the surreal nature of the situation hit me. Through the glass walls, I could see my father sitting confidently, flipping through some papers, likely rehearsing the style he'd been perfecting about his years of experience and qualifications. I opened the door. Good morning, Mr. Chin. I'm the Director of Operations. Thank you for coming in today. The look on his face when he saw me was priceless. Confusion, disbelief, and then, just for a moment, panic. Emma, he stammered, his voice sounding unexpectedly weak. What are you doing here? I sat across from him, casually placing his resume in front of him. I'm the Director of Operations at Wilson & Associates. All regional managers report directly to me. I smiled pleasantly. Shall we begin the interview? He just stared, mouth opening and closing in shock, as the confident Richard Chin found himself utterly speechless. This is a joke, he finally muttered, his voice tinged with frustration. Where is the actual interviewer? This is no joke, I assured him. I've been director here for 3 months now. I opened his resume, eyes scanning the details. Let's go over your qualifications for the regional manager position. I'm not doing this, he snapped, rising from his seat. I won't be interviewed by my own daughter. That's your choice, I said calmly. But I do wonder how Sarah will feel when you tell her you walked out. After all, she's been telling everyone how you're going to show me how real business is done. His face reddened with a mix of anger and embarrassment. Fine, he growled. Let's get this over with. For the next hour, I put him through the most grueling interview of his career. Every claim on his resume, every achievement he'd bragged about over the years, I examined thoroughly, and as I expected, his responses revealed what I'd long suspected. His success had more to do with inheriting a stable company than any real leadership or innovation. Your company's growth has been flat for the past 5 years, I pointed out, referring to the financial reports I had pulled. How do you plan to adapt to shifting market dynamics? He shifted uneasily. We value tradition. Not everyone needs to chase the latest trends. I see, and your employee turnover rate is considerably higher than the industry average. How do you approach talent retention? People don't understand loyalty like we did, he muttered, clearly uncomfortable. With every question, the confident facade he had walked in with crumbled a little more. This wasn't the smooth interview he'd imagined. He had come in expecting to impress everyone with his experience, maybe even hoping to become my superior. Instead, he found himself uncomfortably exposed by the daughter he'd never taken seriously. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Sarah. How's Dad doing? I bet he's already got the job. Can't wait to see your face when he's your boss. I smiled at her naivety and set the phone aside. Finally, I closed my notebook and looked at my father. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chin. We'll let you know our decision by the end of the week. He stood up, fixing his tie with shaking hands. This was unnecessary, Emma. You could have told me, like when you and Sarah set up this whole trap. I kept my voice steady. I thought you were eager to show me how real business is done. His expression darkened. You think you're clever, don't you? Sitting here in your fancy office, trying to prove something. Actually, Dad, I think I've proven exactly what I've been trying to tell you for the last 15 years. I understand business far better than you ever gave me credit for. He grabbed his briefcase, eyes filled with fury. I guess you're going to tell Sarah about this? No, I replied with a smile. I think I'll let you handle that conversation. As he stormed out of the room, I leaned back in my chair, letting out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. The interview had unfolded just as I'd anticipated, exposing my father's outdated business practices and inflated ego. But this wasn't just about putting him in his place. There was a much bigger plan in motion, a plan that would soon come to light. Because what neither he nor Sarah knew was that this interview was only the beginning. The real revelation was still waiting to drop. The days that followed were unexpectedly quiet. No calls from my father, no triumphant messages from Sarah. The silence was telling. It seemed he hadn't shared the details of his interview with her. During this time, I focused on finalizing my real strategy. The folder on my desk held far more than just a rejection letter. It contained a detailed analysis of Chen Manufacturing's weaknesses and a proposal for Wilson and Associates to acquire the company. My father's interview had confirmed what I'd suspected all along. His business was stagnating, struggling to keep up with modern practices. The opportunity for acquisition was a strategic win for Wilson and Associates, and I had already gotten the board's approval. On Friday morning, I gathered my executive team for a meeting. As you're aware, I began, we've been considering expanding our manufacturing sector. I believe I've found the ideal opportunity. I presented the proposal, watching the realization spread across their faces as they grasped the full scope of what I was suggesting. Chen Manufacturing wasn't just an acquisition. It was a game-changing move that would strengthen our market dominance and revitalize an outdated but valuable business. The current CEO, I continued, keeping a professional tone, is stepping down, and his successor lacks the experience to steer the company through much-needed modernization. The timing couldn't be better. After the meeting, I sent 2 emails. The first went to my father. Dear Mr. Chen, thank you for your interview for the regional manager role. While your experience is admirable, we have decided to pursue another candidate. However, I would like to set up a meeting with you and Sarah next Monday to discuss a different opportunity. Best regards, Emma Chen, Director of Operations, Wilson and Associates. The second went to Sarah. Dear Sis, looking forward to seeing you and Dad on Monday. There's something important we need to discuss. Emma. On Monday morning, I stood in the same conference room where I'd interviewed my father just days before. This time, both he and Sarah were sitting across from me. Sarah wore her usual smug expression, clearly unaware of what had unfolded during the interview. Before we start, Sarah said, her voice dripping with sweetness, shouldn't we wait for the director? I'm sure they'll want to be part of this conversation. I smiled. I am the director, Sarah. In fact, I've been managing this entire division for the past 3 months. The blood drained from her face. She turned to our father, who refused to meet her gaze. Dad, did you know about this? He found out last week, I said during his interview, which, by the way, confirmed everything I needed to know about Chen Manufacturing's struggles. I opened the folder in front of me. Your company is in trouble. Outdated systems, high turnover, declining market share. You've been relying on reputation and old relationships, but that's not going to cut it much longer. How dare you? Sarah began, but I interrupted her. Wilson and Associates is prepared to make an offer to acquire Chen Manufacturing. The silence that followed was thick with tension. This is ridiculous, my father said, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. He knew I was right about the company's situation. Is it? I slid the analysis across the table. Your profits have been slipping for 3 years. Major clients are beginning to look elsewhere. Sarah's marketing strategies haven't been effective in attracting new business. Sarah grabbed the papers, her hands trembling as she read. This isn't, it can't. Actually, I can. The board has already approved the acquisition. All we need is your agreement. I leaned forward. And before you reject this out of pride, think about the alternatives. You can either sell to us now on favorable terms or watch the company collapse and sell for far less. My father was silent, reading the proposal with growing reluctance. He had built the company from the ground up. But he failed to adapt, failed to plan for the future. and deep down, he knew it. The terms are generous, I continued. More than generous. You'll both retain positions within the new company structure, reporting to the regional management team, who, by the way, will report to me. Sarah looked like she might throw up. You planned this? Every bit of it? No, Sarah. You planned this. You and Dad thought you could embarrass me by having him come in and show me how real business is done. But instead, you proved exactly why Chen Manufacturing needs new leadership. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. Take the weekend to review the proposal, but remember, this offer won't last forever. As they left, my father paused at the door. All these years, he said softly, we thought we were teaching you about business. You did teach me something, Dad, I replied. You taught me exactly what not to do. 3 months later, the acquisition was finalized. Chen Manufacturing became a division of Wilson and Associates, and I took charge of transforming it into a modern, efficient operation. Sarah remained in marketing, though now she had to justify her choices to a board that prioritized results over family connections. My father officially retired but occasionally consulted on special projects when I asked him. The family dynamic had shifted permanently. No more dismissive comments about my career choices. No more assumptions about my abilities. They'd finally learned what I'd known all along. Real business wasn't about tradition or relying on a family name. It was about adapting and evolving. One evening, as I gazed out at the city lights from my office, I received a final message from Sarah. You know what's ironic? All those years we thought you were running away from the family legacy. Turns out you were the only one who knew how to save it. I smiled and tucked my phone away. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about proving you were right all along. And sometimes the student becomes the teacher in ways no one ever expects. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Stay stunned.